Okay. Okay, what's up, everybody? We are here in my place, in my house, and we got Fire Hydrant here, my hiking partner, Sherry. We're here today because we're talking about the Tahoe Rim Trail. We're about 2 weeks removed. I wanted to make this video to talk about our experience on the TRT. I was gonna make one on my own and talk about my own experience, but I wanted to bring Sherry along because this was her first time doing a hike of this length, of this magnitude. And so yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your take, get your perspective. I feel like the TRT is a pretty doable trail if you're looking to maybe challenge yourself from going from like hiking on weekends to maybe doing something a little bit longer. But this will basically be our experience of the trail, what we liked, what we didn't like, what it was like for us hiking together, logistics, food, all that good stuff. For those who don't know what the Tahoe Rim Trail is a trail out in California and Nevada, and you circumnavigate Lake Tahoe, which is I think the largest alpine lake in America. Something like that.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
Or in the we know stuff. It's a big lake. For the TRT, when I asked you about it last year and you said yes, what was the draw to the yes? What made you say yes to taking on the challenge?
I've never backpacked more than 3 nights. Or I never slept more than 3 nights on trail.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that's considerably longer. I had short thoughts about doing some section hiking of the Appalachian Trail. And so I thought this would be a good sort of measure of whether or not if I could handle that, then I felt like I could handle this section hiking. At this point, I had gotten to know you better. I wouldn't have gone on a 2-week-long backpacking trip having not known someone relatively well.
Yeah.
So I thought this is a safe enough space that I could take on that challenge. Yeah.
And even when I asked you, we hadn't known each other that long.
We had met. Was it after Timberline?
So we did the Timberline Trail. So we met in July.
Right.
And then we did the Timberline Trail a month later.
Right. Clearly I didn't sense the stranger danger in your ask. And so I agreed.
And I think it was great because I had been doing some solo hiking, solo backpacking. And so when I met you and you were telling me about some of your adventure races and and your marathons too, I thought to myself, okay, she knows how to like suffer and be like cool with it.
You did say that.
Yeah. And once I figured that out, I was like, okay, cool, yeah, this will be fine. You know, this will be great. Because really at the end of the day, if you can kind of suffer okay in a somewhat controlled environment, I guess. You can't control everything, but if you're sort of aware of like the kind of thing that you're doing and that it's not always going to be easy all the time, you know, if you can handle that pretty well, I feel like you can do these long trails because it's really like a mental game, a lot of it at the end of the day. Okay, so what were some of your biggest concerns going into it?
Not walking fast enough. Like I was concerned that I would hold you back. And I've hiked with you, so at this point I would have already done Timberline, we had done Dolly sides, we had done
Lost Creek,
and just, I think we've hiked
Shenandoah.
We've done a few things, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm clearly not walking as fast as you, hiking as fast as you. So that was maybe my biggest concern.
Yeah.
And then getting my pack weight down.
Which is a lot of people's a lot of people's concern with the pack weight. And I'll touch on that for a second with pack weight. I found, and I want to know how you feel about this, but I found with pack weight, everyone kind of obsesses over pack weight before the trail. Like you're weighing everything. Like I do the same thing. I have my little scale, my little food scale over there, and I like weighing all the little stuff. And I pretty much know what everything weighs in my pack, ounces. Like I know the ounces, which is kind of a weird thing to know, like how many ounces this toothbrush is. Like, you know, like who knows that? And I feel like people obsess over that, but once you get on the trail, you're really not concerned much about how much your bag weighs. You know, you'll go to the store and pack out a sandwich or a bunch of candy, and it's gonna it weighs. You're adding ounces to your pack, but at that point, you're like, look, I'm just trying to survive out here.
And I'm crushing that sandwich in the first evening, so it's not going to be late for that long.
Exactly. I want to get into kind of our differences when it comes to hiking styles as well. I think that's something important to talk about when you are hiking with someone else, because I've met people that have gone on hikes, like long distance hikes, and they don't finish together. Now, granted, a lot of the times that's like the really long trails. Like if you're hiking with someone for 2 weeks, you can like stick it out. But yeah, if you're hiking for months and months, and maybe you have creative differences, hiking differences, or you don't agree on something.
Right.
A lot of people do end up splitting off. In backpacking, hiking, all that stuff, there's different backpacking styles and camping styles, I would say. So I really fell in love with the challenge of like hiking long days, kind of getting up early and hiking throughout the day, and then really using the campsite as a time to just eat and go to sleep. Like I don't really hang out too much at camp. I like getting to camp later in the evening, like 6 or 7. And we have the same hiking style. I don't know what you're talking about. And then sleeping and then getting up pretty early and then doing the same thing over again. So that was the backpacking style that I really enjoy and that I kind of came into the TRT with that mindset. So yeah, you mentioned during the day preferring more breaks. And so that was something that the two of us kind of were different on a little bit, and really something that I realized later that I should have done a better job with communicating what Sherry's needs were, what maybe my desires were. And so there were some days a lot of days where we didn't take a ton of breaks, and a lot of days where we would be hiking separate. And I kind of came into the hike with the mindset of, this will be great, we're hiking together. If we split apart, that's cool. We'll see each other at some point.
Yeah.
And you kind of preferred more of a, like, let's regroup at this time, or like, let's find a time to check in.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that when I really realized that was on our 9th day hiking, and we kind of ran into a situation where you were feeling a little bit anxious.
Right.
We were in Desolation Wilderness, which is kind of heavier bear territory, and we were walking through a lot of bushy areas.
Yeah. A
lot of areas that were like were pretty much impenetrable, like, just bushes everywhere.
Right.
And we would see bear scat every now and then. And there was a point during the day where we split up, and I was probably 5 minutes ahead of you. I think throughout the entire time, whenever we would split, we were never more than maybe 5 or 10 minutes away from each other, but it felt like we were much further from each other sometimes. Yeah. So that particular day, I guess it felt like we were much further ahead. I was much further ahead, even though I wasn't too far, but it did feel like, even for me, I remember thinking, oh, I need to find a place to eat so we can both stop and take a break. But that was something that I was thinking in my mind, but Sherry had no idea that I was actually looking for a place to break.
Yeah.
And she was feeling kind of anxious, and so we had to have a discussion about that later that night, and I realized that I needed to kind of shift the way that I was doing things. And yeah, that was a good lesson for me, in just as far as just communicating better and making sure that whoever you're hiking with, whether it's one person or a group, that you're communicating
the itinerary of the day. Like
yeah.
It was fresher mind, more rest on my brain now. I realized we were probably hiking at the same pace, which is why I didn't see you for that stretch. Mm-hmm. You weren't walking any faster than me. You just got ahead of me at some point. Mm-hmm. And I was never walking any faster to be able to see you ahead of me. It was just too many twists and turns, and the forest was denser.
Yes.
On that section of the trail, the overlap with the PCT and the TRT just had a lot more blowdowns and a lot more underbrush, and you just couldn't see. I couldn't see your little red shirt in the distance. Yeah. And it did create some anxiety, even though I'm accustomed to hiking with bears. in the east, it was something
Right.
about even the mosquitoes are bigger, the snakes are bigger, like everything was bigger.
We had seen a rattlesnake a couple days before.
And I never
So
had
that-
earbuds in my ear again. I didn't hear her yelling rattlesnake, snakes. I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah. But I think that's something important when you're hiking with a partner, when you're hiking with a group, to constantly be communicating with the other person and just making sure that everyone has, making sure that everybody's happy. Everyone has what they need. Everyone has what they, what they want, to enjoy the trail. And a lot of it is also about compromise too. But I honestly didn't feel like I was really compromising at all. It was more of adjusting, I think, or shifting, because I think that day I was trying to go, that day I wanted to go faster so we could finish a day earlier.
Yeah.
But then I realized, oh, okay, we need to shift, which is part of through hiking, being flexible, being ready to make any kind of shift. So I realized that, oh, okay, we just need to shift so we're not killing ourselves and hiking crazy miles so we can finish one day early. What were some of your favorite parts?
Was it Star Lake?
Star Lake?
I enjoyed that.
That was nice.
That was nice. It was a nice break.
Yeah, that was...
And then the climb after
Yeah.
our lovely break at Star Lake, then that climb up
We did.
to the whatever that pass was.
Yeah.
Then the back half of that is coming back down and walking to Armstrong Pass. That's what that day was.
You're good with remembering the areas in the passes. I don't remember any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Star Lake, that was a good one. We had a pretty good climb to get up there, but we did good that day. I think we ended up hiking like 11 miles by like 12:30 or 1.
Yeah.
Which was really good.
That was really good.
Yeah.
I loved our campsite the final night.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Climbing to that campsite.
That was our long day. That was our 20-mile day.
Brutal.
Yeah.
The hot Tahoe City Cobb salad break. Chef's kiss.
Tahoe City was cool.
That was great.
I like Tahoe City. Tahoe City was a great town, great hiker town, very hiker friendly. They had an outfitter there that was, great for hikers. They had a couple of grocery stores, so make sure to stop in Tahoe City when you're going through. I loved Star Lake. So as far as the whole trail goes, I really enjoyed the east side of the trail. A lot of people kind of poo-poo it because of the long water carries. So on the eastern half of the Tahoe Rim Trail, you're gonna have some long water carries. I think the longest stretch was maybe 17 miles, maybe close to 20 miles. We did pay for a water cache. There's a service out there. Her name is Cece, and she gives transportation services and food resupply, delivery services, all of that. And so we paid her for a water cache at Spooner Trailhead. Yeah, so we did that. So that worked out. But I think there was water there for people anyway.
There was extra water in that drain.
Yeah, but I don't know why. Maybe I should have been more concerned about the water carries. I think I was carrying like 3.5 liters for the first couple of days.
I think I started with 4.
Yeah, and I was like washing my hands and stuff at camp. I was like, la la la, wash my hands, brush my teeth, and then the next morning I was like, oh, I don't know if I have enough water.
I remember you saying that.
I don't know if I have enough.
I kind of looked at you like, okay, well, I mean, I got some. Like, we're good.
It's fine. I said, if I'm on death's door, I'll let you know. And it was fine. It was okay.
I also like the campsite. What was that hilltop? The early on the Nevada side.
Oh.
We didn't make it to the bench. It was.
Oh
before
yeah,
the
yeah,
bench.
right before the bench. Yeah, that was great.
That was a good meadow.
That was a nice one.
The sunset. It was.
Oh yeah, and the
really
sunset.
good. That's
Oh
when we
yeah,
could see
beautiful sunset.
Desolation Wilderness like looming off
Yeah.
to the left, but the sunset. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh great, oh, but great.
I think that's one of the things I love though about long distance hiking or through hiking. Like I love the challenge I love the progression. Like I love being able to see the challenge ahead and then be able to progress forward to it. And then being able to look back and say like, wow, look how far we've come. Like when we hit 100 miles, it's like, whoa, we've hit 100 miles. Like look how far we've come. Like I love that. It's a great feeling.
Right.
Yeah, like I was saying, the eastern half was really beautiful. I think We had the best views of the lake on the Nevada side. And I would say the grades were pretty mild, I would say, for a lot of it. Like those first couple of days were pretty mild hiking. Nice switchbacks, you know, nothing too steep. So that was really nice. Let's talk about the pictures being taken of us. 2 days. So for some reason, 2 days in a row. It happened twice. We had people asked to take our pictures because they were so enamored, I guess, by
the unicorns they just saw on the trail. I
yeah.
don't know what it was.
Yeah. So, you know, for those who don't look like us, you know, sometimes if you look like us, you might, you know, some people get, I guess, a little enthusiastic or excited. The people, they were excited and they were very nice. But they did ask to take our pictures. And what we should have said was, oh, can we take your picture?
That would have been a great response.
Yeah.
I also didn't know that "can I take your picture" was code for no, I actually want to take the picture on my device of you.
Right. Sherry thought that the lady asking, oh, can I take your picture, thought that, oh, we give her our camera and she takes a picture of us. I said, no, she wants to take a picture of us with her camera to keep in her photos.
Because she saw a magical unicorn too.
Yes.
On the trail.
So, you know, that's just part of it. A lot of people out there, they don't see black women, black people at all, you know, hiking the trail.
Or the one guy who wanted to give us savior advice on where the water flow was at Star Lake.
Yeah, I think that's just a lot of guys with women when they see a woman, like, you know, the mansplaining.
Didn't actually
that
ask
happens.
where the water was, but thank you for telling me all the water sources between here and in Alaska.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about our food prep.
Oh no, it's such a newbie moment.
How did you go into prepping your food? Talk a little bit about, just how it ended up working out.
Based on an earlier trip we took in July, I felt like I was bonking, not taking in enough calories, not taking in enough water, and I didn't want that same feeling on this trip.
I think you wanted to do 2,500 calories a day. And for me, I was trying to find a good balance of helping and giving suggestion, but also not being too much, because, you know, maybe you are going to eat 2,500 calories a day. And I think I said, you know, in my past experience, I have found that my appetite will be suppressed because you're just exerting yourself so much every single day. You really have to kind of make yourself eat. And when you're at that elevation, we were hovering between 6,000 and 8,000 feet for the entirety of the trail.
Right.
So when you're at that elevation, your appetite's going to be suppressed. So you kind of just have to force feed yourself.
Yeah. All of that was heard.
Yeah.
I definitely was suffering from some degree of comprehension prior to the trip. And I think by day 4, I hated everything in my bear vault. By South Lake Tahoe, I just didn't want to see the food in my bear vault anymore.
Do you think that was because of the type of food you had, though? Why do you think you hated the food? Do you think if you had different food?
I am a firm believer to pack what you love.
Okay.
I thought I loved everything in that bear vault.
Right.
I realized I've never eaten any of those things in that bear vault for as many days as I did on this trip. Mm-hmm. I love tuna. I don't love tuna. 5
After
days
day 4
in a row.
What would you change going forward, or what advice would you give to someone who is going on something that's maybe 5 days or 6 days or longer?
Not to eat the same lunch every day, which ended up being what I did every day except for the days we approached a town. I don't need to eat as nearly much food on trail as I thought I did.
Right.
There were days when evenings I had to force myself to eat.
Yeah.
And maybe I need to rethink the foods that I love.
So I look at the food a little bit differently. When you're on a long distance hike like that, you are most likely going to be at a calorie deficit for the entire time. You'll be okay. You'll survive. You know, you just won't be getting in the amount of calories that you probably should be getting throughout the day unless you're very disciplined. And you're just really good at eating on trail. I have, heard about the hiker hunger. People get hiker hunger maybe a couple of months in. But yeah, when you're hiking for 2-3 weeks, it can be hard to eat. So I kind of look at food a little bit differently. I really just look at it as a source of fuel, as I don't really use the food for enjoyment or eat the food. I don't really eat the food for enjoyment. But I really just look at it as a source of fuel. I will say for my dinners, I do like to have dinners that I enjoy. And I tried to make sure I had some variety with my dinners. So I was happy with my dinners. But yeah, I ate the tuna every day. I did get tired of the tuna. I did get tired of it on that last couple of days. But I know for me, I'm always kind of in the mindset of, okay, I know there's an end date to this, and I know when this is going to end. And after that, I can eat whatever I want. But for now, I just need to fuel and be able to move so I can make the miles.
Look, I tried the food as fuel mentality. And I'm telling you, that's what muscled me to the end. Mm-hmm. But when I did not rehydrate that last dinner correctly on that last night, that just did it. That was the last meal. That was it.
That was it.
I was just like, I had now officially hate everything.
Okay, Sherry, what were some things that surprised you about the trail?
I think I started following the TRT thru-hikers page on Facebook. And there seemed to be so much conversation about all the people who are anticipating starting
Facebook is great.
Starting out on trail. And then I'm sort of anticipating this volume of people that we were going to see on a daily basis. And then we didn't. Like, except that first night, I was like, oh, look at all the people we're camping with at this little designated camping area in Nevada. And then, like, nothing. Like, we saw mountain bikers everywhere. We saw trail runners everywhere. But we weren't seeing a lot of...
We didn't see a lot of people. It seems like, because of Facebook, it seemed like we were going to see a lot more people.
Right.
But we didn't see as many people as we thought we would. That's something that surprised me about the trail too, especially coming from the JMT, which is so populated and where you're constantly leapfrogging with people. And I think we both realized we didn't see a lot of people because the TRT is a loop and there's so many places where you can start. There's so many trailheads. And so everyone's kind of starting in different places. And to your point, what you said earlier, like both walking at the same pace, everyone's kind of going relatively different paces, but everyone's just walking in a circle at the same time.
Yeah.
So no one's really leapfrogging each other. You might pass someone and then a week later you'll see them again.
Yeah, which we
which
did.
happened a couple of times, but yeah, we really didn't see a lot of people except for that last few days. I think there were also a lot of people starting in August.
Right.
A lot of hikers that were starting in August and September. We started our trip on the 26th of July and ended August 5th? 4th? 7th. August 7th. So we did a 13-day trip for us, which leads me into where we started. So we started at Mount Rose Campground and we went clockwise. And the funny thing about that is that whenever we would see someone, we would think, oh man, everyone's going counterclockwise, because the people that we did see were going the opposite direction. And a lot of people thought the other way around. People that were going counterclockwise thought that they were the only ones going counterclockwise. Yeah. So everyone was kind of having the same feeling, I guess, that they weren't seeing anybody on the trail, which is kind of interesting.
And I was also shocked that when we did encounter day hikers, or even when we were in town, there wasn't a lot of knowledge about the Tahoe Rim Trail as a
that's true.
through hike endeavor. Like, okay.
We would say, oh, we're hiking the TRT. And they would be like, what? I'm like, don't you live here?
Or they immediately ask, are you a PCT through hiker?
Yeah.
No, we're doing the TRT.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah. We're going to go into logistics, how we got there, transportation, all that good stuff. We both flew into Reno. We flew from Baltimore, flew into Reno, stayed at a hotel the first night, and got our gas cans, extra little things. And then we started the trail the next morning. So our transportation, we used a service to hikers. There's a woman, her name is Cece, and she serves hikers. And she's a hustler. She be hustling. She's got her dog business. She's serving hikers. You got to pay her though. She'll charge you, but she will get you to where you need to go.
She's reliable.
Yeah, she was reliable.
She absolutely, whatever you compensated for her for, she actually delivered in a timely fashion. Yeah.
This is true.
No,
so we used her for our transportation from Reno to the trailhead. So we started at Mount Rose Campground, and that was about a 30-minute drive from where we were staying in Reno to get to the trailhead. For our resupply, a lot of people, I would say for the TRT, you can definitely get away with doing 2 resupplies. That was our original plan, and I think that's what most people end up doing. A lot of people will resupply in Tahoe City and maybe Kingsbury or something like that, depending on where you start.
Right.
But once we found out that Sherry's husband was going to come out and kind of be there for the week, I said, oh, well, maybe we can actually do 3 resupplies and not have to carry as much food because we were already carrying a lot of water. So that really worked out for us. We ended up doing 3 resupplies. And then we did the first resupply at Kingsbury where we got picked up.
Yeah.
And then the second one at South Lake Tahoe, and then the third in Tahoe City. So our longest food carry stretch was 5 days.
Right.
Like in Tahoe City, there's a Safeway, there's a couple of grocery stores. You can go to a store throughout the trail, and resupply that way. So people do it that way too. I think it was just a little easier for us to kind of pre-pack our food. We had our dinners and stuff ready and all of that. So that's just what we did.
Just one less thing I had to think about, because I was already nervous. So I didn't want to have to think about sustenance.
Yeah, that's true. Our daily mileage, we averaged about 15 miles a day. We had a couple of days where we did a little bit more, maybe 17 or so miles, and then we had one 20-mile day.
Right.
How did you feel about the daily mileage overall? We started with 15 miles.
Yeah, we did.
On the first day.
I think the first 2 days I thought we started. Yeah, the first half of the trail was fine. The second half of the trail got steeper.
Yeah.
The climbs got higher. I was okay with the mileage. I was definitely okay with the mileage once I resolved my shoe foot thing in Tahoe City. Yeah, that mileage on the last day, day 12? That ended up being our 20-mile day.
Yeah, the second to last day.
The 20 miles wasn't the problem. It was the final 4 miles to our stopping point.
Climbing up.
That was brutal on a full day's leg. But once we got into the rhythm of our schedule, the spacing of the miles actually were good.
I think that's one that could actually be one. I don't know if I would call it a disadvantage, but it's just a fact of the matter. Hiking in a weekend and then doing kind of a long distance hike where you're hiking for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sometimes it takes just that long, 3 weeks, to really get in like a real good rhythm and like find your groove or your trail legs. Whereas if you're doing the thru hike on the Appalachian Trail, the PCT, the Continental Divide Trail, you're hiking for months and months. So it's like, okay, cool. It's been 3 weeks. Awesome. I got my trail legs. So now I'm in a good, good groove. But as soon as we get our trail legs and we get into like a super good groove and we're hiking comfortably 20 miles a day, then it's over.
Yeah.
So
The end.
Yeah. So, that could be, that's just what it is, fact of the matter. I don't think it's an advantage or disadvantage really. Let's talk about hair really quick, because that's for real with Black people in particular. Black women is a for real concern about what to do with your hair when you're going out for multiple days. So I have locks. Sherry's also natural. Got the poof. So we both kind of did something similar with our hair.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
I ended up going with 2-strand twists, mainly because I needed to wear a hood and a hat and a bug net, and I love my crown out and flowing and free, but it just I knew there was going to be dirt, I knew there was going to be sweat, and I needed to be able to quickly address the sunshade situation. So I did end up going with 2-strand twists. And I think that was the right decision.
Yeah, good decision. I did the same thing, so we both kind of had similar hair styles. I haven't changed my hair in the past 2 weeks. I have washed it, don't worry, but also got the 2-strand twist. I have locks, so I don't do a ton, like the styles of my hair don't change all of that much. That's a me thing. I'm just more conservative that way. That's just me. But people with locks, they do all sorts of stuff with their hair. But yeah, I got the 2-strand twist for similar reasons. It's just a little easier to handle. But yeah, I mean, if you're concerned about your hair, like bring what you need to bring. Bring the coconut water, the bonnet. I brought a bonnet out for backpacking before, and it's great. It's actually very comforting. It makes you feel like you're at home a little bit.
I had my satin cap for the first couple of nights out there, and then by the time we got to South Lake Tahoe, I just ditched it. I was like, who am I trying to
bring the bonnet? I'll bring all the products.
I had it, and then I ditched it. It wasn't even a thought anymore.
Bring all the products that you're used to using for your hair, if that's something that you do, and I would just put them in little containers. So that would be my suggestion. All right, so yeah, these are just a couple of questions that people asked on social media. So, okay, the first one was, what was your pace and how long did it take? We just talked about the pace a little bit. So what was our pace? About 15 miles a day.
Right.
With a few longer days. We did 120-mile day, and then it took us 13 days total. So that includes 2 Neros, and a Nero is just when you don't hike a ton of miles, and then a 0 day, which is where you hike.
Right.
0 miles. Okay.
And we did try to get a big chunk of those miles in the morning. Like we tried
to,
we did try to set the setup of the morning, that sort of 4 or 5 hours in the morning was when we tried to crush a lot of
we tried to do the majority of our miles before 2 o'clock. Yeah. And that's what we did. Yeah. Okay, someone asked, what gear and training do you recommend for beginners?
Hiking, walking. I mean, ultimately your foot needs to have had some time under tension. So hiking with weight, strength training, I think you did a lot of that. I didn't do enough of that. And sort of simulating the activity that you will eventually be doing in the arena that you're going to be hiking in would have been helpful. I had familiarity with my gear already. It was just preparing for 15 to 20 mile days and just sort of that time under tension. I went from doing like maybe an 8-hour hiking day to like a 10-hour hiking day. It doesn't seem like a meaningful amount, but the miles you can cover in 2 more hours was, sometimes 5 miles. So that's 5 additional miles you're hiking a day.
It's a lot. It's a lot on the body. Long distance through hiking, it's a lot on the body. It takes a toll on the body. And so you want to try to prepare your body for that tension, as you said, that pressure as much as you can beforehand by strength training, walking, hiking, backpacking, all of those things. Someone asked thoughts on Desolation Wilderness. It's supposed to be the best area, the most beautiful part of the trail, Desolation Wilderness. Yeah. It was fine. It was fine.
It's fine.
What's our favorite part?
It didn't have my favorite lake. I still like Star Lake and the surrounding of that lake best of all. The mosquito violence at Round Lake was just unbelievable.
A lot of mosquitoes in Desolation. Those mosquitoes are relentless. Almost makes me miss the desert section.
Oh, no, there was one more lake. The lake where we crossed over that sketchy log.
I thought you were about to go in there. I was like, okay, watch the current. Oh yeah, that was pretty.
That was a pretty lake.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was pretty.
I don't remember what it was. Was that Velma? No, not Velma. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Desolation. Yeah, Desolation was pretty. It was beautiful, but it wasn't our favorite part of the trail. I think part of that was because we were around, we hit Desolation around day 7, 8, 9 maybe. Yeah. And so I think that was just kind of in a lull of the hike, and we were sort of just wanting to get through it because there were so many mosquitoes. The mosquitoes were relentless. Yeah. And I think we had a couple of cold nights in Desolation as well. Not too bad, but yeah, it just wasn't our favorite part of the hike.
Right. That was a section where I didn't sleep very well.
Yeah.
For varying reasons. I'm doing laps around with my food so I don't get assaulted by the insects. You're right. I don't. Yeah. Except for Echo Chalet, where we ate out front.
Oh yeah, there's a little store near Echo Lake, right? At Echo Lake. That's really nice. They have sandwiches and food and stuff there, and ice cream. And you can actually take a boat across the lake that'll save you like 2.5 miles. Yeah. We did not do that. We walked, but it was pretty still. Yeah. So yeah, Desolation Wilderness, pretty. I would go back maybe for a backpacking trip. And I feel like I would enjoy it a little bit more for like a weekend trip.
And I'm guessing there are parts of Desolation that don't go along the TRT that might be prettier.
Maybe. Or like Lake Aloha is popular, and so, yeah.
It was okay. I think it was just the sun.
Yeah, I think the mental
time of day.
The mental part for us was sort of, it was like kind of neutral to.
I just didn't think it was okay.
It was good. It was all right. It was fine. It was it was all, I think, doing the east side first, that was the first few days. So we were like, wow, this is great. This is amazing. Yeah. That day 1 and 2 feeling, and then you get to like day 8 and 9, you're like, all right, let's go. Come on. A lake. Wow. Pretty. So.
Might have been a part of that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think the TRT is a good first trail? Excuse me. Do you think the TRT is a good trail for a first through hike?
Sure. I mean, certainly there is an expense associated with it, especially if you're coming from the east, heading out there. So it's not the cheapest.
That's a good point.
Through hike to do as a sampling. I think you could do a long section hike in preparation for a much greater through hike, maybe in one of your more local trail systems. But what you get out there is the ooh and the of the vistas and the varying terrains and the carpet level, grooming of the trails in one section.
The lovely groomed trails. Yeah, beautiful, perfectly groomed trails. Yeah.
The gentle rolling switchbacks in some sections, and then other sections where I'm trying to wedge myself between a snow drift and a rock formation while I'm trying to climb up.
Yep.
Like it gave you varying vibes depending upon where you were on the trail itself, the circuit itself.
And that's a really good point you mentioned about the expense, because I think when people talk about, is this a good first through hike to do, I think they're just kind of referring to maybe the difficulty of the trail. But yeah, we live on the East Coast. We live in the DMV. We live in Maryland, and so flying out to the West Coast is going to cost more. Where there are trails that we could do. We could do a long section on the AT. We could do the long trail. There are trails up in the Northeast in New England that we could do, but yeah, I mean, I'm just very much drawn to the West Coast mountains. I love it. So, we took the trip out there. The other thing, so I'm gonna go back really quick on the logistics. So when we ended our hike, we decided to use CC again, the same hiking service to transport us from Mount Rose again back to the hotel that we were going to stay at in Reno. We thought about hitching, and we were going to hitch. We were going to be like, we're through hikers, we're going to hitch.
The full experience.
Yeah, the full experience. And then we realized we have jobs.
Yeah.
And we can just pay someone to drive us. So if you have a job and you're just taking PTO, just pay for the service.
Just pay for the service.
Just make it easy on yourself. Yeah. You don't need to hitch. Do you feel like you'll take a different approach to backpacking in the future?
Yes. I thought I had my gear pretty dialed in prior to the trip. For the most part, I did. Had I'll make a couple swaps.
Yeah.
I have an upcoming trip, but in this instance, I'll be going with my partner, my husband. So that's another logistic that we can't we backpack differently when we're together than we do as individuals.
Okay.
But sort of from my own pack standpoint, I probably need even less than I thought I needed before this most recent trip. Like there are some comforts that I don't think I need any longer. There are some things that I thought I needed 2,500 calories a day. Shoot, I'll be happy with the stick of salami and some string cheese. Like the struggle meals are now in effect. I don't think I need as much. Just some slight tweaks, probably just in the food department. Those are mainly, and I think I'm a 2-shirt kind of gal.
2 shirts.
2 shirts.
Yeah. I think that was something that I discovered too after the JMT, that I could get away with. There was more that I could get away with than I thought.
Yeah.
So you can actually get away with having less, and you'll be fine. You'll be good.
Yeah. And it wasn't a struggle. It wasn't uncomfortable.
Right. It's not like you take this one thing, you take maybe this one comfort item away, and all of a sudden you are just, in distress, and the whole, So, I think, for the most part, you realize that you can actually do a lot more with not as much as you think. Yeah. Okay, and last question. Would you ever do something like this again?
I would definitely do another long hike. A long hike. Would I ever do the TRT again? I probably don't need to do a full version of the TRT. I could do a section. New challenge. Maybe 15 days.
Whoa.
Let's graduate. Move the needle twice more, and then, not ready for 21 yet. Not ready for JMT yet.
Okay.
But maybe a few days longer.
All right. Gradually.
Yeah.
Gradually increase.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So don't call me next week and say I got our next hike ready, and it's like a month long.
What? What are you talking about? That's pretty much it. That was our experience on the TRT. I hope we answered some of you guys' questions. And hope you guys got a little bit more insight and information on what the Tahoe Rim Trail is like. This was just our personal experiences. As you can see, we both had different experiences on the trail. And so something like this, I think, is very doable for people that may be looking for just a new challenge in their backpacking journeys. And so I would definitely suggest the TRT. But keep an eye out for the main video. That's coming out soon at some point in a couple of months, whenever I have time to do it. This is the kind of thing I do full time, so I have other videos to do that pay my bills so I can go on more hikes. So the TRT video will be out at some point. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you stuck around to the end, thank you. And if if you have any more questions, comment below. That's what you say, I think. Leave a comment or reach out, DM.
Like it.
Oh yeah, the likes, all that good stuff. So appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next one.